everybody, today we're going to be reading Pure Evil, Michael Myers, ex-listener up in here. We is in currently chapter 13, but before we get straight into it, let's go back to where we last left off. Basically, we were sleeping with Mikael in the room that he usually makes us stay in. He eventually let us kind of roam a little bit around the house. And basically, while he was sleeping, we decided to go to the kitchen and make some breakfast because he made his breakfast and something like that. And as we were cooking, freaking Mikael snuck up behind us, scared the living crap out of us. And, is being, fee, a little bit, spicy. And then we eventually gave him the breakfast whenever it was finished. We made him eat it, and eventually he begrudgingly eat it, and we were very, 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 very happy. And eventually, while time skipped a couple days or days later, we were chilling in the bed where we usually stay in with the door locked because we can't go around the house by ourselves. Well, actually, yes, we can, excuse me. And all of a sudden we start hearing police sirens and some stuff, going around the house, and we see blue and red flashing lights out the window, even though it's mostly boarded up, and we're like, yes, this is my chance. We run out the door, and as we were ascending down the stairs, Mikael was just standing at the end of the stairs, full on glaring at us, and we would just be like, oh no, and then we got interrupted because the police basically broke down the door. Mikael quickly grabbed us and went he quickly ran around in the house while Samuel Loomis I think it's Samuel Loomis was running behind us, telling Mikael to not do this and blah 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 as he was running after us. Mikael was hitching us up, so he was carrying us, and we just started breaking down. We were breaking down, and we were like, Mikael, just please. And eventually he just stopped completely when he heard that, looked at us, and then we heard, pew pew pew, and he got shot. He fell to the floor with us because he was carrying us, and that's kind of the main of it. And then before we kind of ended this chapter, we ended up going to the hospital. They brought us to the hospital, and we're just thinking of every mistake we've ever made and regrets, pretty much, and just crying heavily.
Nice.
Everybody, so I would like to give a nice appreciative warning that the following would mention of some RAPE. It'll also mention of SA, and it will also mention of a lot of blood, violence, gore. You guys know the drill. It's about a slasher, especially Mikael. We should expect these things. Also, I guess I should give y'all this as slight warning. You will be simping with me during this. You won't try. You will simp with me during this. I can't be alone during these times. Ugh. You had been advised. Now let's get back to the actual story. Alright, y'all. So we is in chapter 13. And before we start, remember that I will always be linking the music that is attached to these in the description down below, added with the title, so you guys can find it and listen to it while you read the chapter. Yes. Anyway, chapter 13. Your eyes shot open as beads of sweat slowly rolled down your forehead. It was just a nightmare. You thought to yourself, he's dead. Loomis shot him 6 times. There was no way a human could survive that. You sighed heavily and looked towards the side of the table that sat to the hospital bed you rested upon. You examined the small clock that read 12:34. You closed your eyes slowly, hoping to get an actual good night's sleep. No nightmares. No Mikael. You just wanted to sleep and get away from all the tragedies that occurred. But of course, there is never a happy ending. You were woken up not even a few seconds later to a loud screech. You shot your head towards the door and saw a limping nurse rush in. She was drenched in blood and the look of pure fear covered her face. "Miss Ellen, we have to go now!" The nurse was suddenly forcefully pulled back outside the hospital room as her screams faded down the hallway. Her expression read pure terror. It can't be him. No way, he was shot 6 times! What the hell is going on? You slowly slipped out of the bed with only a nightgown covering you. You quietly made your way to the door, creaking it and peeking your head out. Nothing. Where did she go? You tiptoed out of the room and made your way out into the hallway. Why would you go into the hallway when you saw that nurse clearly being dragged, bro? Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. But then he would know we were there and then we would have to move places. But still. Anyway. You silently explored the hallways and turned the corner only to be met with a total bloodbath. You held back a scream and the feeling of throwing up and completely breaking down flooded you. The smell of blood and just pure death filled your senses as you saw at least 6 bodies sprawn across the floor. There was a man pinned against the wall, a kitchen knife keeping him there. Blood everywhere. You felt your knees begin to give out as you collapsed onto the floor. You sobbed into your hands as millions of thoughts flooded your head. How did this happen? Who did this? Your heart stopped in your chest as you heard slow footsteps approaching you. You stayed silent, holding back the tears that filled your orbs. You bit the inside of your cheek from stopping any noise, as you trembled on the cold hospital floor. You practically flew back at the touch of someone's hands trailing down your thigh. You were now faced towards the person who had just touched you. Your eyes widened and your lip trembled as you were met with the lifeless killer who you had shared such a special bond with. Mikael, please, you said, choking on your sobs and slowly inching backwards. He tilted his head and slowly made his way over to you. Please, don't hurt me, you pleaded, searching for some kind of sympathy in this tall killer. Well, that's not going to end well. He gave you a look that said, why would I hurt you? You couldn't keep the warm liquid from rolling down your cheek. You cupped your face in your hands, not wanting him to see you like that. You were too caught up in your thoughts to even notice that Mikael crouched down in front of you. You felt a large hand wrap around your trembling hand, removing it from your face. You didn't flinch this time, just accepting the fact that you might die tonight. But you were surprised when you stared back into his eyes, seeing concern and worry. He took his other hand, reaching into his pocket for the notepad and pencil. He began to write as you stared intently at him. He lifted it towards you, reading it. I would never hurt you. You stared back at him and you could tell he was serious. Thank you. Your voice cracked and you sent him a small smile, not knowing what to do. He suddenly lifted you up, bridal style, carrying you throughout the hallways. You leaned into his chest, listening to his slow heartbeats. This feeling again. Your heart fluttered and you let the killer do what he liked, since you knew you were too weak to do anything. You felt yourself slowly drifting off, his heartbeat acting as a lullaby to you. Good night, YN. A deep, low voice said softly as you fell into a deep sleep. Oh, that is so cute! Oh my goodness. Oh, that is so cute. Ah! Damn, why can't I have that in life? Okay, y'all, so we is in chapter 14. Something about running out of these. Anyways. Your eyes fluttered open as you rubbed your eyes and sat up quickly, when you remembered what happened last night. You had a confused expression when you realized you were in a different room than the old one at the house. You were no longer at Mikael's old... What am I saying? You were no longer at the old Myers house, but instead a very clean, lit, organized room. But where was Mikael? The thought of him made you shudder. You turned towards the window that sat next to you and examined your surroundings. You were in a cabin in the middle of the woods. You realized, I'm definitely not leaving this time. And you accepted that. He had you wrapped around his finger. Tight. You sighed. There was no use in crying, so you sat there in silence, waiting for something to happen. You laid on your side, facing the wall. You flinched at the sound of the door slowly creaking open. You didn't even dare look back, hoping he wouldn't make a move. You felt his presence standing over you, his stare burning into you. You softened at his touch. His fingers ran through your tangled hair delicately. He patted your head before you heard his footsteps turning away. Mikhail, wait, you commanded, sitting up. He stopped in his tracks and turned towards you. He glared at you and tilted his head. Come, sit. You patted the spot in front of you. He nodded and walked over to you, sitting down. Your eyes connected, and you two sat in a trance for a while before you interrupted. Why me? You questioned, truly curious. Why am I still here? Why am I alive? Your eyes began to sting, and you turned your gaze away from him, your hair swinging down, covering your face. You don't need me, Mikhail. You choked, attempting to hold back your tears. Why don't you just kill me? You said it in an enable whisper, not knowing he heard you. He grabbed your hand and intertwined his fingers with yours. You glanced up at him, a tear rolling down your cheek. He had taken off his mask and wore a worried expression on his face. He squeezed your hand and brought his other hand towards your face, brushing his thumb against your cheek, wiping your tear. I love you, he said in a low, deep, rough voice. The sound of his voice made your heart flutter. Mikhail, you stuttered, and sent him a surprised and comforting smile. You saw him smile for the first time, and he smashed his lips against yours. You leaned into his deep, loving kiss, loving every second of it. He wrapped his arms around you, pulling him close to you as he left a trail of kisses down your neck to your collarbone. Mikhail, you said softly. He glared up at you. He's glaring at it. Damn, he's glaring at me. Damn. Anyways, he had a soft look in his eye. I love you too. The words rolled off your tongue, causing his face to warm up. You connected your lips with his as you moved your way into his lap and wrapped your legs around his waist. You two shared a long, deep kiss for a few seconds before moving away and staring into each other's eyes. He moved his face towards your collarbone, leaving his love marks behind. He leaned his head into your chest as you kissed his head. You two stayed in that position for a while until you slowly drifted off, as did he. Time skip. You blinked your eyes open and found yourself laying on top of Michael, your head pressed against his chest. His chest heaved as you listened to his his slow breathing. You slid off of him quietly and made your way to the bathroom. You examined your reflection and your neck was covered in hickeys. You sighed loudly and rubbed your temples. God, Miguel. You turned the knobs, switching on the shower. You slipped out of the dirty hospital gown you still wore and stepped into the shower. You leaned your head back as the steamy water danced on your skin. You were so caught up in the moment that you didn't even realize Mikhail was stepping in with you. You felt two large hands grab onto your waist, pulling you towards him. You flinched forwards, practically flying. Your cheeks flushed a dark red and an embarrassed expression covered your face. Michael, what were you doing? You questioned, stuttering a bit. You were still turned around as he admired your small, perfect form. Fine, just don't do anything weird. You sighed and began to wash your body. Mikhail grabbed a bottle of shampoo, poured it into his hand, and he placed it upon your hair, gently running it through your hair. Shampoos for the scalp. You had to admit, it felt amazing. His fingers felt amazing as he rubbed your scalp. There we go. I like that. You leaned your head back a bit, leaning into his touch. You finished washing your hair, and you turned around, faced with his impressive figure. He probably had, you counted, an 8-pack? Your face flushed once again as you looked up towards him. He had an expressionless look on his face as he tilted his head. Turn around. I need to wash your hair. You demanded, and he obeyed. He even leaned down so he could reach. You began to pour soap into your hands, running it through his long locks. You rubbed his scalp and the sides of his head. You could tell he loved it as he let out a low growl. Okay, done, you explained. He began to wash the soap out as you stepped out of the shower, wrapping a towel around your small form. Mikhail just stepped out as well, but he just stood there. You covered your face and shrieked, "Put a towel on! I don't want to don't want a naked killer walking around. He let out a low chuckle and wrapped a towel around his waist. You were still covering your face. Suddenly, you were picked up bridal style. You squirmed, "Hey, let me down." You tried to get out of his grip. He just laughed. It was like music to your ears. You loved his voice. You stopped and giggled along with him as he carried you into the bedroom, shutting the door. Goddamn. 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 I better not get demonetized for this. I love you. You know what? I'm just gonna, if you don't mind, if you really, really don't mind, if you don't, if I don't just, save this for futuristic purposes. Thank you. Oh, goodness. Anyways, chapter 15. Now there is a warning. Fantastic. Thank you for warning us, author. I admire you for that. Thank you. So this chapter, I'm going to say it out loud. There is a trigger warning for slight RAP and slight glore. The rest is just fluffy stuff. So, yeah. There's the warning. I'm going to see if I can read through this, but if I can't, I'm going to try and shorten it. Okay? Okay. You were sitting in Mikael's lap as he was running his fingers through your hair, twirling it around his finger occasionally. You were ranting to him, telling him what you've been up to when he was taken away. He just nodded and listened intently, enjoying that you felt comfortable around him now. "So what have you been up to?" You hummed as you leaned into his chest. He wrapped his arms around your waist and shrugged. "Thumbs up, thumbs down?" You questioned. He formed his hand into a thumbs down. You frowned and felt bad for asking. "I'm sorry," you said sincerely, rubbing his forearm comforting. He groaned softly, leaning his face into the crook of your neck. "You have me now," you said, now kissing his forearm. He nodded slowly, bringing his hand back to your hair. You turned around facing him. He lifted up his mask and stared into his icy orbs contently. "I love you," you whispered, locking your lips with his. You melted into his deep kiss, loving every second of it. Damn. Anyways, time skip. You were laying in bed, reading a book that laid on the old bookshelf that sat in the corner of the dimly lit room. You had figured out you were in an old abandoned cabin in the middle of the woods. Well, that's what Mikael told you. You were reading to keep the time going by while Mikael did his regular killing. He tried to stop for a while. For you. So he mostly goes out to get food and clothes for you. Aw, that's sweet. You heard the muffled sound of the front door slowly creaking open. You assumed it was Mikael, so you waited for him to enter the small room. Your heart sank as you heard a man that you didn't recognize talking outside the bedroom door. You froze in fear, unable to move as whoever was on the other side of the door slowly opened the door. "Now, what do we have here?" the man said in a lustful tone and grinned pervertedly. "Ooh, look like we got ourselves a pretty one, eh?" Another man that followed behind him snickered and smirked at me, sending me a dark glare. My heart began to pound in my chest as I itched backwards, trembling horribly. "What's a pretty thing like you doing here in the middle of the woods, huh?" the man questioned, slowly moving closer to you. You clenched the seats. "Please don't hurt me," you whimpered pleadingly. They looked at each other and chuckled. "Don't hurt me," the other man said mockingly. "Well, that's too bad, darling." He grinned, sending you a dark, lustful glare. Suddenly, he kneeled down on the bed, roughly grabbing your legs, forcing you towards him. You shrieked and squirmed, trying to get out of his grip. I want to have a go with her first," the other man pleaded. You sobbed, causing the man to strike his arm towards you, leaving a hot sting on your face. You just cried, knowing that all you were capable of doing in the situation. "Please," you cried out. All you could hear was laughter of the chaotic men now had you pinned on the bed, legs and arms. "You're gonna love this." The man had a nauseating expression plastered across his face. You glared at him once more before red covered your vision. Everything was red. The man held his throat, now sliced open, the contents spilling out onto the white sheets. You started to regain your vision back and flew backwards, you were met with a horrible scene. Mikael had come back. He was repeatedly stabbing the man in the chest, causing a grunt every time he impaled him. You covered your mouth in shock. You didn't know how to react, so you just kept quiet. What the fuck? The other man yelled, flying backwards, quickly making his way over to the door, but was stopped when Mikael grabbed him from the back of the shirt. The man let out an ear-piercing scream, causing you to sob even more and cover your ears. You watched in fear as Mikael slammed him against the door roughly, impaling him at least over 100 times. He held him by the neck, impaling the knife one last time in the middle of his chest, practically throwing him across the room. You trembled and hid your face in between your knees, rerunning everything that had just occurred in your head. Mikael slowly glanced towards you, his gaze now upon you. You glared up at him, sliding off the bed and practically sprinting towards him. You wrapped your arms around his body, hugging him, his heartbeat rapidly pounding in his chest. He crouched down to your height level, sliding his mask off. He had a terrible expression on his face. It was mixed with worry, guilt, anger, and pure evil. I'm okay now, you muttered bitterly. He stared up at you with those deep blue eyes. I promise, you said sincerely, sending him a soft smile. He sighed, relieved that you were okay. He pressed his lips against yours and pulled away. He pulled you into a tight, loving hug. He didn't want to let you go. You two sat there for a while in silence, caught in a warm hug. I'm sorry, Mikael said softly. Every time he spoke, which was rarely, made your heart pound out of your chest. It sounded so nice, comforting almost. It's all right, Mikey. You saved me. Thank you, you stated. I will never leave you alone like that ever again. That will never happen again, he said sternly. You knew he meant it. You nodded slowly, kissing his neck. You didn't know how much time had passed, but the two of you stayed in that position for a long time before Mikael finally dragged you two into bed. Goddamn! I did not expect to see that at the end of the chapter, but damn, that was an emotional roller coaster. May I say this right now? I did not... Well, I mean, at least I didn't get too ravenous with it like some other chapters we have read. Not of this fan fiction, but an entirely probably different one. It would have probably gotten a lot worse depending on who wrote the fan fiction and what's it about. But I'm glad it doesn't go too much into detail. But you know, we clearly get an indication that these guys, I wish Mikael didn't even kill them. As a matter of fact, I wish he just would have brought them to the basement and just freaking tortured them down there. And listen, I don't think Mikael is the type for the one to torture. He just wants a quick painless for him. He just wants a quick kill. That's it. But I think it would have just been much more evil if he just tortured them, because they deserve it. Like, these assholes, like anyone who's like that to any person, no matter what gender, they need to die. They need to pass away. They need to die. The only ones who get excuses like that are the ones that are in prison, particularly, that do it to specifically and only other predators and rape RIPists like that. Because basically, sometimes when an RIPist goes to jail or prison, there's other people that obviously don't appreciate RIPists or predators, and they RIP that RIP. Sometimes go look it up. I think it happened with a predator actually. And yeah, he was the RIP got RIP'd by other people and basically effed up real bad. Y'all can look it up. I think it happened to not a RIP, but obviously, a predator. So it was, I can't say it was good, but I can say it was deserved. Anyway, let's continue before we get too sappy. So, this is an AN. Yes. Okay, y'all, now we is back on track. We is in chapter 16. You were swept away from your dreams as the sunlight beamed in on your face. You groaned and rubbed your eyes, realizing you were caged in by Mikael's large arms. You sighed, hugging his arms. You were surprised, thinking he would already be gone on his normal killings by now. You suddenly remembered what he had said, the memory replaying over and over in your head. I will never leave you alone like that ever again. You smiled, intertwining your fingers with his. You brought his large hand towards your face, kissing it. You squealed as you were suddenly flipped over and faced with the sleepy Mikael. He wore a tired expression as he stared into your orbs. Sorry if I woke you up. You apologized, sending him a soft smile. He leaned his face towards yours, planting a warm kiss upon your forehead. You smiled as he pulled you close towards his chest. You two laid there for who knows how long, intertwined in each other's warm embrace. You were once awoke again by Mikael gently lifting you up, bridal style. You watched as he made his way down the stairs with you in his arms. He laid you down on the couch as he made his way into the kitchen. You stretched and turned your head towards Mikael, curious on what he was doing. You stared intently as he examined each cabinet before deciding on one, taking out a pan. He made his way to the fridge, taking out a box of waffles. What is he doing? You thought as you brought a hand to your forehead, shaking your head. Does he actually think that you cook waffles with a pan? I mean, what should I expect from a person that was locked up for practically their whole life? You stood up and made your way over to him. Mikael, what are you doing? He flinched, startled by your sudden presence. You don't cook waffles with a pan, silly. You giggled softly, patting his arm in reassurance. You picked up the pan, placing it back in the cabinet as you brought out a toaster. You're supposed to put it in a toaster, you know, like a tiny oven, but easier, you said to him, smirking. He let out a low growl in response. Obviously, he knew what a toaster was. I'm just teasing you. You snickered and stood up on your tippy toes, patting his head. He rolled his eyes and continued to glare at you. You popped the waffles into the toaster and opened the fridge, taking out a milk carton that surprisingly wasn't expired. You poured it in a small glass cup, taking a sip. Mikael just stared, admiring every part of your body. You were so beautiful to him. You noticed his staring and raised an eyebrow at him. Staring is rude, you know, you stated. He continued to stare and moved closer to you. You placed his hands upon your waist, feeling every curve on your body. You grinned at him, lust flooding your eyes. His hand trailed up to your neck, then your cheek. He slid his thumb across your cheek. Your eyes locked. You both were knocked out of your weird trance as the waffles popped out of the toaster. Looks like the waffles are ready, he said awkwardly, scratching your neck. He simply nodded and watched as you made your way over to the stove, placing the waffles onto the pan. You made your way into the living room, Mikael silently following behind. You placed your plate on the side table, and before you could sit down, you were picked up by yours truly, Mikael. You gasped, "What are you doing?" He sat down, placing you in his lap. You stared at him in shock, not expecting this sudden action. He wrapped his arm around you, bringing you closer to him. You smiled and let him embrace you. He picked up the remote that laid beside you. You switched it on and turned to him. Any suggestions? You asked until you remember he probably doesn't know any movies since he's been locked up for so long. You were surprised as he nodded and took the remote from your grasp. He ended up picking Psycho. You leaned your head into his chest, silently watching the movie. You felt safe in his arms and wished you two could stay like this all day. He ran his fingers through your hair gently, causing you to slowly drift in the arms of the killer. That is so cute. You know what? I'm gonna add this as a thumbnail. This is so cute. Kill you with affection. I love that. Alright. Chapter 17. Yay. You flinched backwards, practically flying off the couch as you were caught off by Mikael's sudden presence staring down at you as you slept. Jesus, Michael, you startled me, you said as you laid your head back, catching your breath. You heard a low chuckle as Mikael leaned over, picking you up and propping you back into his lap. You sent him a contagious smile, causing him to smile back. You wrapped your arms around his neck, locking your lips with his. You pulled away, gazing into his icy eyes. Your eyes softened as your mother came into your mind, thinking you finally gained the trust of the killer. Maybe he would let you see her? Mikael, can I ask you something? His eyes softened as he simply nodded. You swallowed bitterly. Uh-oh. Can I go visit my mother? Please, I'll come right back. You asked, hesitating. You watched as Mikael's presence seemed to grow darker, a low growl coming from his chest. Please, I won't tell anyone I was here. I won't tell the cops. I won't run away, I promise. You said, truthfully. He huffed, shaking his head violently. No. You clenched your hands into a fist. You began to grow impatient. Do you seriously still not trust me? After all the time I've spent with you, did that all mean nothing? You explained, furious at the killer that he still hadn't trusted you. He was afraid. He didn't want you to leave him. He loved you deeply. He was scared he was going to lose you again. You climbed off of him, standing up. He did as well, sending you a dark glare. I seriously can't believe you don't trust me. I don't understand. You said, your voice hoarse. You stared at the ground, tears flooding your cheeks, slowly running down your cheek. He just stared at you, guilty that you felt this way. I can't believe this. You whispered, barely audible. He placed his hand on your shoulder, causing you to grab his hand roughly, forcing it off. Don't touch me, you said sternly, giving him a dark glare full of hatred. You stormed off, making your way up to your room. You slammed the door, slowly sliding down it, curling into a ball. You were a crying mess, tears streaming down your porcelain cheeks. How come he doesn't trust you? You spent all this time with him, clearly trusting him. You two slept in the same bed, now becoming a habit. You were beginning to become comfortable around him, which obviously is trusting him. Wow, that's sad. You grabbed your hair in frustration. He's so hard to read. I can never tell what's going on in that killer's head. You sighed, wiping your tears. You moved over to your bed, now that you shared with Mikael, sliding under the covers. Sleep is the best option, since that's the only thing that you could do in this house. You missed your mother deeply, the thought of her not leaving your mind. Has she even noticed you weren't at the hospital anymore? The thoughts flooding your head as you slowly drifted off into your endless sleep. Time skip. You woke up, the feeling of being watched coming to you. You sat up quickly, examining the room. No one. Why did I wake up then? You rubbed your eyes and laid down, trying to fall back asleep. The doorknob jiggled, but not opening. As you remembered that you had recently locked it, not wanting Mikael to pay you a visit. Go away, you said, not wanting to see the killer you once trusted. The doorknob jittering slowly came to a stop as you heard footsteps slowly facing away. You rested your head comfortably back onto the pillow, but not for long as the jittering returned, causing the door to fling open. I said go away, you said hoarsely, the presence of him no longer comforting. He suddenly appeared right in front of you, hesitating if he should attempt to comfort you, not wanting you to become upset. Just leave, Mikael, you commanded. He ignored, sadness filling his expression. I'm sorry, a low, rough voice said apologetically. Your heart fluttered, that voice. It was your weakness. Mikael, you sighed. He ran the back of his hand against your hair. His eyes locked on you. You glanced up at him, his expression making you weak. You two stared into each other's eyes for a good few minutes, suddenly stopping as you cleared your throat, turning away. The memories from earlier coming back to you. Mikael, just go, you whispered softly. You closed your eyes, hugging yourself. Your eyes shot open as you felt the bed move downward. Mikael was slowly pushing his weight onto the bed. You were suddenly pinned onto the bed now, faced with an expressionless Mikael. Your face flushed as you drowned in his blue orbs, the sound of heavy breathing flooding your ears. You gazed into each other's eyes, Mikael connecting his lips against yours. Why am I saying these days so weirdly? His lips with yours. Your tongues intertwining, deepening into a long, loving kiss. You pulled away, catching your breath. His eyes softened, his brown curls falling over his face. Is this your apology? You muttered softly. He responded with a low hum, giving you goosebumps. You bit your lip, connecting your lips once again with his. I forgive you. You moved the curls out of his face, grinning. a small grin appearing on his face as he moved it towards your neck. He left kisses all over your neck, finding your sweet spot causing you to gasp. He chuckled, causing your heart to pound out of your chest. He repeatedly kissed in a bit at that sensitive spot, enjoying the little noises you made. Mikhail, quit it! You giggled as you pushed his face out from your neck. He smiled, the grin never leaving his face. You're so pretty, you said sincerely. He rolled his eyes, locking his lips with yours. You giggled, wrapping his arms around him. That is so cute! I lovey-dovey. Was this man double-cheeked up on a Thursday afternoon? Damn. God damn. God damn. Oh my goodness. Oh my Lord. Oh, ain't nobody finna save me from this. Oh my Lord. I'm about to save that double cheeked up, bro. But I'm so close. I'm so close. I'm like this close from saving that shit for real. Oh my gosh, bro. Oh my goodness. Alright, y'all. So, we is in chapter 18. Amazing. Amazing. Anyway, you listened to Mikhail's slow, quiet breathing as you were locked in his arms, gazing at the ceiling. A few days had passed since you and Mikhail were on now very good terms, spending every moment together. You had been really happy. Though you were held against your will, you felt loved and safe. You have made this small cabin your newfound home. Though the thoughts in your head still lingered of your mother, you tried not to let it get to you. You decided to do your morning routine, slowly slipping out of the killer's arms. You tiptoed over to the door, making your way into the hallway. You walked down the long hallway until you suddenly stopped in your tracks. Bright beams of light shined on your face, illuminating from the front door. On the other side of the door is freedom, your mother, your friends. Your thoughts danced around in your head. This is your chance. The thought of Mikhail came into your mind, the sad, pitiful look on his face. He would never forgive you. You felt yourself slowly making your way to the front door, never looking back. You gripped the doorknob. Am I really doing this? Just a couple of minutes ago, I was wrapped tightly in the arms of the man who I now made my own. I nodded to myself, slowly sliding the door open, closing it behind me. The scent of fresh grass and freedom flooded your senses. You sighed, enjoying this peaceful yet terrifying moment. This is it. I'm free. You suddenly bolted through the forest, not daring to look back. You could have sworn you heard the front door open, footsteps trailing behind yours. You still didn't look back. Tree after tree. You had no idea how long you had been running, but it felt like hours. You saw a glimpse of a house, and ran even faster than you had before. You finally found yourself back in the small town in the Pannon Field. You sprinted down to the first house you saw, tears streaming down your cheeks as you smiled wide. Sleep well, your mother muttered, slowly pressing her lips against your forehead and sending you a soft smile. You were home. You dreamed of this moment. To be back home safe with your mother. You prayed and hoped that you could get home, but now home felt so empty. It didn't feel the same. The scent of Mikhail still lingered in your nose, causing you to bury your head in your pillow. He had a comforting smell. You couldn't explain it, but it made you feel safe. Just the thought of him made you feel all warm and fuzzy. It didn't last long, as the thought of him now alone made you frown. You left him alone. You knew he probably would never forgive you. You betrayed him. You cursed yourself for it. Your heart ached and tears fought to stream down your cheek. Your story already made headlines. You were Haddonfield big talk at the moment. Everyone knew you. Boogeyman's girl, people teased. People constantly drove by just to look at your house. News reporters would often stop by, standing outside of your house to say, and this is where the young victim of Mikhail Myers' kidnappings lives. You didn't even feel like a real human being anymore. People didn't even talk to you to get to know you. Instead, to treat you like some sort of celebrity. It's always the same thing. You can open up to me, just trust me. Like it won't result to them calling you out and selling your story to the local newspaper. It was upsetting. The police weren't even able to track Mikael down. The cabin completely vanished without a trace. The only proof they had was your stories. You felt weak and useless. Your body ached and tears threatened to spill out. In all honesty, you missed him. You didn't know why. What crazy person misses someone that completely ruined your life? But he was the only person that would purely love you. He made, well, you. Your tears began to spill down your cheek, soaking into your pillow. It was too late now. You had already left and now you were free. But that's all that matters. But is it really? You pushed your face deeper into your pillow, more tears gently spilling out of your cheek. Home wasn't here. It was with Mikael. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Not gonna get copyrighted. For real. Ha ha ha. Anyways, chapter 19. Days turned into night. Your eyes glued open at the thought of Mikael never leaving your mind. You were grateful you were safe back at home in the presence of your mother, but it didn't feel the same. Mikael's warm embrace, you felt terrible. You left him there, alone. Not even a letter. The look on his face when you realized you were gone haunted your dreams. His trust in you was fully gone and he'd probably never forgive you. But you knew with the softness in his heart he would never stop loving you. Maybe one day he could forgive you and maybe slowly gain your trust, but that was probably never going to happen. You betrayed him, left him in the dirt, but it's for the best, isn't it? But his face never left your mind. It was glued there. It was taunting you. You needed to find him. You just had to. It was bothering you so bad. You belonged with Mikael even if he never forgives you. At least you could live with the fact that you tried and maybe you could move on. You knew for a fact that you could never gain his trust back for what you did, but you understood that. You wouldn't have trusted yourself either if you ditched after a long connection you just created. This was it. You're going to attempt to find your way back to that cabin in the woods. The police hasn't been able to even track it down, but you're going to retrace your steps in an attempt to find it. You finally got the strength to lift your body up, your feet pressing against the cold wooden floor. You picked out a backpack, stuffing essentials, such as clothes, food, etc. You left out some stuff just in case you decided to come back home. You were saddened at the thought of your mother realizing you were gone. She would be ruined. You frowned, but this is what you had to do. You belonged with Mikael, even if he never truly wanted to see your face again, and hated you with all of his guts. You knew he would come around. After all, he did have a soft spot in his heart just made for you. You finished packing your bags and began to write a letter for your mother. It was more reassuring than sad. The last thing you wanted your mother was to be upset, and from experience, you didn't want to leave without writing a note. You finished and made your way to the front door, stopping in your tracks as you saw your mother peacefully asleep on the couch. She looked exhausted. She'd been taking care of you all this time after you escaped. She didn't want to lose you again. You felt selfish, horrible. You cursed at yourself, but you had to do it. You bent over, planting a kiss on her pale cheek. "I'm sorry," you muttered softly. The last words you say before you headed out to God knows heading off into God knows how this was going to end up. He could kill you as soon as he sees you. Probably the most gruesome way possible, depending on the level of his anger over you abandoning him. Or maybe just he would forgive you. You were eager to find out as you made your way outside the house, the wind kissing your cheek as you made your way down the neighborhood. You had no clue where you were going, but you tried your best to remember the way you came from. You walked and walked. It seemed never ending. Your eyes widened. Your heart skipped a beat. Your heart skipping a beat as your eyes met with the house that helped you from the kidnapping. This is it. You were close. You continued walking. You were now inside the woods once again, sending a chill down your spine as the memories flooded your mind at that terrible, chilly day. The way you ran as fast as you could, happy that you were finally out of the killer's grip. Now look at you. You fell right back into his trap. But you weren't saddened by this. You accepted it and let him win. It was your choice anyway. You loved him. He made you feel like a fool, but I guess there is something wrong with me to be so fascinated by this killer. All these thoughts ran through your mind as you made your way through the dimly lit woods, just hoping he would maybe forgive you. These drawings are fucking amazing. I love these. I'm so sorry, but these drawings are fucking awesome, bro. Oh, goodness. Anyways, chapter 20. The rays of sunshine beamed into your skin through the dead autumn trees. Your body ached from walking for God knows how long. Days turned into nights. Yeah, and you had no idea how much time had passed. At this point, you couldn't even tell what was real. Everything looked the same, tree by tree. You were convinced you were going in circles. The heart locket Mikhail gave you so long ago danced in your fingers. The thought of him never left your mind. The only thing you wanted was for him to forgive you. It'd probably take weeks, even months, for him to finally warm up to you again and finally gain the trust in you, but that was okay. You could wait for him. The only thing that mattered to you was him. But you were the one who convinced him you would be there for him. You completely messed things up. You ran away for leaving him for dead because you were so fucking selfish. Only thinking about yourself and not even a single thought about how he would feel. Did he think about us in the first beginning of the story? I don't think so. I don't think so. So this, I call it 50-50. Who knows what he could do to you if he saw you at this moment? Probably rip you to shreds, leaving you for a pack of wolves dinner. You prayed that wasn't the occasion and set your things down by a nearby tree, sitting down. You had been walking for so long, you longed for a break and rested your head against a tree. You froze as you heard the sound of a twig snapping. With the falling of leaves crunching as the footsteps were closer, moving towards you. You glanced around, seeing a man in a camouflage uniform and a rifle rested in his hand firmly. A hunter. You kept quiet as he slowly made his way towards you. He was about a few inches away from you as you now read the expression on his face as he examined you. You're that girl from the newspapers, ain't you? He questioned, a confused expression staining his face. You gulped dryly as you nodded. What you doing all the way out here? Let's get you back into town, he stated as he gripped your arm, forcing you up. Let me go, you explained as you fought against the man's grip. Now, what's the matter? You want to go home, don't you? He asked, confused as any person would. No, please let me go, please. You continued to fight as he wrapped his arms around you, tightening his grip. Now, you ain't going nowhere, the man stated sternly. Please. You clawed at his arms, but his grip kept getting tighter and tighter. You felt the air slowly leaving your lungs as you struggled to breathe, tears slipping down your pale cheeks. Now quiet down, we don't want anyone to hear us. Isn't that right? Everything fell silent as his grip finally loosened and his body collapsed onto the forest floor. You slowly looked up as you saw that his lifeless body sprawled across the floor, blood spilling out from under him. Your heart skipped a beat as you felt a cold metallic touch against your neck. A bloodstained kitchen knife was held perfectly against your bare neck. Heavy breathing filling your ears. Mikhail? You stuttered as you gulped bitterly. It was him. You have been waiting for this moment. He found you. You hoped and prayed that he wouldn't hurt you. I would never hurt you, he wrote so long ago in that small piece of notebook paper. He pressed the knife deeper into your skin, barely cutting your skin. Mikhail, please don't hurt me, you pleaded as you stared at the lifeless body, his blood now soaking onto the forest floor, staining it red. I'm sorry. The words rolled off your tongue sympathetically. He grunted, forcing the knife away from your neck. You knew he would not forgive you, just from a small, I'm sorry. But it's all you could choke out. You were afraid. You slowly turned around, now faced with the white bleached mask. Those eyes. Those icy blue eyes stared into you, filled with pure hatred. He wanted you dead, but he just couldn't. You made him weak. He really couldn't hurt you. Even after what you did to him, he just couldn't. He loved you deeply, and if you left him alone, He would never hurt you. He could never. Damn. Mikael, I came back for you. You choked out as you lowered your head, your hair falling over your face. I'm so sorry. You stuttered as tears began to pour down your cheek like a river. I'm so sorry. I'm so pathetic. You chuckled, tears blocking your vision as you stared up at your trembling hands. Mikael rested his finger on your chin, lifting it up so he could see your face. Your eyes were red and glossy, tears streaming down your cheek. You were a crying mess. He lifted his finger to your cheek, wiping away the fresh tears that poured like a stream. I'm so sorry, you hiccuped, now your eyes connecting as you stared deeply into his eyes. His heart ached seeing you like this. He wanted to see you smile. The only thing that made his heart flutter was a smile of yours. He lifted his mask, his locks falling perfectly over his shoulders. Your whole world stopped as you examined his face. Tears fought to roll down his cheek. He looked devastated. Oh, Mikael, please don't cry. I'm so sorry. You pleaded softly as you cupped his face with your small hands. This is all my fault. We could have been so happy by now, living our best life. Mikael, I'm so sorry. I messed everything up. You rested your head on his chest as tears soaked his blood-stained suit. Even if you had ran away, ditching him, betraying his trust, you were still everything to him. Nothing had changed, and it never will. You meant everything to him, and he didn't want that to be over. You were the only thing that made him sane. You kept him alive. He even stopped killing for you. Even if you betrayed him, you two could still be happy together. Even if it took a while, he knew you two could get past it. You two were inseparable. His heart ached seeing you like this. He grabbed your hand, intertwining his fingers with yours. He stared deeply into your eyes as you stared back into his. He cupped your cheek with his hand, brushing his thumb across your cheek. Mika, you were cut off by his lips interlocking with yours. The feeling. This feeling. The feeling you once had when you two shared your first kiss. It was real. You wrapped your arms around him, deepening the kiss. His hands trailed to the back of your head, his fingers running through your hair. This is where you needed to be. Anywhere with him is where you belonged. Nowhere else. You wanted to stay like this forever. You now know what love was because of him. I wish I could explain how he makes me feel. How the sounds of his voice gives you butterflies. How his smile makes your heart skip a beat. And how every time you're with him, it just made you feel complete. You wanted it to be you and him forever. And who knows, maybe you two could have those happy ever after love stories. It was silly, but you really hoped that's how it would turn out. He lifted you up bridal style, carrying you home. That's when you realized he was the part of you that you will always need. Aww, that is so cute. Oh my gosh, that is so cute. Aww. Oh god damn. Oh damn. Damn. When I tell you my simp for this man is real. Oh my lord. Oh my lord. Bruh. This man. Maybe not the mask too much, but y'all can see it, right? Y'all can see why. Y'all can see it. Y'all can see why I like ye. I like ye guy. I like ye man. I like ye. Oh lord. Oh goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh goodness. Oh goodness. Is there anything else? No, bro. We have officially reached the ending of this story. Did you guys expect that? Let me know in the comments down below. Honestly, for me, I think I expected something like that because I don't know. I expected something like that, but now I thought she would think about maybe I should escape one more time, and I actually succeeded. Oh my goodness, I do hope you guys enjoyed Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more amazing videos, guys. If you guys want to check out the whole playlist for this whole thing, it will be right on the screen, right there, right now. So y'all can go check out the playlist. If you just saw this video and are interested in hearing the whole series from start to finish, go check out that playlist. It has every single video of this fan fiction being read. Like any other fan fiction that I normally read, I like to create a playlist for it to make it easier for literally everyone. It saves my sanity and it saves many others. Yes. Anyways, girls gotta go. Bye and peace.
Nice app.